Thanks for joining the webinar. So today, let me have a quick intro about myself. My name is Alex, the technical marketing engineer for email security. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. Today, I have another colleagues, Jennifer and Gloria, with us today. They will take care of a question. If you have something that you'd like to bring up in the room, feel free to do so. They will try their best to answer your question. So today, I'm here to talk about a few important topics which Cisco has launched and introduced to the market a couple of months ago. I'd like to talk about the latest editions of Cisco email security, which we call it as the domain protection, as well as the advanced phishing protection. If there's time allowed, I definitely wanted to speak on the single SKU that's going to help you to differentiate the Cisco email security with other competitors in the market today. And never forget to mention the the greatness of the greatest and the latest of threat analyzers tool for any Office 365 customer related opportunity. So with that, let me just go over to the agenda today. So only 4 topics that I like to deliver in the webinar, but the information is quite a lot because I will do some demo as well. So first of all, I'll give you the overview of each new email security services, the domain protection, as well as the advanced phishing protection, along with a demonstrations on each of those features via the demo portal. I need to emphasize the new SKU which we have introduced for email security and advanced malware protections, which are already available in the gold price list. I will continue to talk about securing the Office 365 customers, and never forget to remind that the tools, the threat analyzers tool, which is going to help you to find out the threat which the current email security protection fails to catch, and unfortunately already fed into the users' mailboxes. So last but not least, I'll definitely share some valuable resources that basically helps you to capture more businesses down the road that is related to email security. So beginning of early last year, end of the last year, Radicati has published a 2018 Secure Email Gateway Market Quadrant report. So this is the 3rd time in a row that Cisco has topped the spot. So if you can see it on the attached graphic, shows that our positions as opposed to other competitors in the latest report. So in the absence of Gartner Magic Quadrant, as they stopped publishing the Magic Quadrant report, Radicati is the only one that actually going to publish the vendor comparison table in 2018. So I strongly encourage everyone in the call leveraging this report, and most important, the fact that we are leading for the 3rd time in a row against our competitors, especially Proofpoint, Microsoft, which continue to remain as the same position as opposite to us in the quadrant. So feel free to click on the link at the bottom right corner to download the actual report, and I'll respond, which are hosted in the Sales Connect. So there's a reason why Cisco Email Security is a leader, because whether physical, whether virtual, cloud, or hybrid deployment, we still recognize as the industry leader that offering a fast, comprehensive protection, often hourly or daily ahead of competitors. We own and sharing one of the largest network of threat intelligence built on extensive collective security analytics from Cisco Talos. Outbound messages protection through the built-in data loss prevention and email encryption. And most important, low total cost of ownership with the small footprint, easy to implement, and everything is automated, especially comes from administrations that save you a lot of time in the long run. Well, without further ado, let's quickly move on to the first topic. So allow me to spend a good moment to talk about these 2 new email security services, which we call it as Cisco Domain Protection, or DMP, as well as the Cisco Advanced Phishing Protection, we call it APP. Well, before we get started to talk about, the importance of those features, we still have a question by everyone, like, why do we need email security? Is it still relevant as of today, even in 2019? Do we really need it, right? So, I mean, everyone is using different kinds of communication tools, like tweeting, like WebEx, like jabbering. Is it someone else still using the email? Like, is it still bothering to sell email security? Well, the fact that it is incorrect. Well, email security is still the #1 threat vector, that's for sure, because Talos is still continuing getting a lot of security relevance threat that is come from email as the channel. So if you haven't seen through this, the screen that I have attached on this slide, just feel free to go for it. In www.talosintelligence.com, it states that Talos has been tracking a new threat campaign that is using 4 phishing documents in a single email. So this type of attack happened to steal the password, record a keystroke from your keyboard, right? And there's other kinds of a phishing attack like business email compromise, BEC, right? Using the phishing email to direct the unsuspecting users to wire the funds from the corporate account. So it is clear that email attack is still very relevant. In fact, over 90% of the breaches start with email. So your customers absolutely need Cisco to help them combat this type of security breaches. However, the sad thing is the attack is continuously evolve, right? Initially, it's a content deceptions. Now they move on to identity impersonation. So the attackers started to begin focus on identity impersonation, mostly in 2 ways, right? The first one is impersonating the sender using the social engineering by researching the high value targets, develop a credible emails from those targets back to the employee for business email compromise attack. So the second way is to develop a sophisticated phishing attack by impersonating the well-known brand that the customer do business with, and sending those customers legitimate-looking email back to them. So today, we're going to focus on the additional of 2 new services that were added back in last June, on how this can actually further protect the customers from those advanced threats. So the first service that I'd like to talk about is the Cisco Advanced Phishing Protection. And this is the service that is focused on the inbound email, especially preventing the users from receiving the email that has been crafted nicely, looks legit, right, in order to prevent the BEC attack. I just do forget what I mean about BEC is business email compromise. So this is the type of attack that we try to prevent. So what unique about this cloud-based security is that it is not allowing you to set the policy to help stopping the BEC. It also uses the intelligence to create an understanding of a relationship between the email sender as well as the email receiver, which is your users. So it uses a couple of machine learning methods to understand the pattern. For example, who is sending the email to your environment, over what type of domain, from what kind of email addresses, how the email address looks like, and what is the device that the senders usually send. Right, so these are the information that the APP is learning all about in order to get a better understanding of the mapping within your own organizations or your customers that is using the APP. So this information will then correlate and use to create a better understanding of who is the legitimate sender in the real time. Okay, to further explain, Cisco Email Security uses Talos for the global threat fit intelligence and Advanced Phishing Protection, APP, augment the defense further with the local intelligence. So don't get confused with that, okay? So we're using global, but APP is using local intelligence. So how the local intelligence do is it correlate the domain reputation, the authenticity scores of the email senders into your environment, which is critical in helping prevent the deception-based attack. So when I say local intelligence means that it's understanding the organizational behavioral, the infrastructure behavioral, individual behaviors, and most importantly, the relational model behavior that makes more informed decisions about who the sender really is. So if you can see from the slide, the whole understanding of the local intelligence has been categorized into 3 different big sections, which is the identity mapping, which tells you that who is actually the one that's sending the messages. Is it one that actually is supposed to send this type of message? The behavioral analytic means that whether this is the type of email that the users is usually sent. For example, is it always the way that he sends related to finance or related to some kind of a text that he or she usually use, right? So these are the behavior that we learn. And last but not least, the trust modeling, which trying to understand whether the sender is always sending to a specific person or specific group if there is an anomaly happen down the way, right? So these are the 3 main things that is form a local intelligence within APP. So another critical element in the APP is that it is able to remove the emails that is suspected to be the BEC attack after the email has been delivered to the users. So what happens is if this is happening, the APP still have the way to remediate the message via the policies, and we also have a second option called the on-demand remediations in case that the message is not matching the policies, and there's a way that the users go back in, search the message out that contain a specific criteria, for example, from who to who, what is the subject, etc., and they can just pick it up and delete the messages or move the messages somewhere else. So this is something on demand and requires manual intervention when required. So what you can see on the slide is a high level of an overview. That's how this remediation features is working. All right, so now let's move on to the second service, which we call it as the Cisco Domain Protection. As you can see from the slide, it focuses on protecting the outbound email that your customers are sending to the trusted users or another counterpart. So many of your customers is using a third-party services to send the email on their behalf. For example, the email marketing campaign. So, however, it is easy for the bad actors to hijack the legitimate domain and use them for the bad intent, which results in a legitimate company having malicious emails sent to their own customers from their own domain. So Cisco Domain Protection actually helps automate the process of using email authentications to prevent the phishing. It protects the brand from fraud, maintain the email governance by analyzing, updating, and taking action against the senders misusing the domain to send a malicious email. Well, one thing I want to highlight is that this service is using an open standard called DMARC, aka Domain-Based Message Authentications Reporting and Conformance. It is a message authentication standard, and it will able to send a real-time reporting back to the domain owners about the non-compliant messages that has been sent out from their domain. So, in case you're not still aware of this news, DMARC has been mandated by the Department of Homeland Security and has been adopted by many companies, especially in financial and the healthcare sectors. So Cisco Domain Protection can be used so your customer can see what third-party senders are legitimately or not legitimately sending the email on their behalf. As you can see from the slide, some has passed one or two of the standard like SPF or DKIM, which are the two of email authentication standard. So in the ideal way, all three-party senders should be like MailChimp that have 100% of both standards, right? So this service automates the whole email authentication process by identifying, tracking, and managing all the third-party senders, making it so easy to and faster for the customers to manage the complex email sending email ecosystems. So this is a significant value added that we excited to share to both of the service with you as the two additional layer that customer can implement to defend against the email breaches, especially BEC. And enough said, I hope there is no further question. I would like to jump onto the demo, which I'm going to show you how this feature looks like on both portals. So let me quickly cut over to the browsers and to show you how it looks like. All right, I hope you can still see my screen. So this is the DMP. So let me log out and show you how it looks like. So at least you have a better understanding of how this demo looks like. So let me quickly log back in. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let's see if I can log back in real quickly. Okay, so the first one I would like to demonstrate is the domain protection, or we call it the DMP. So basically, if you still remember what I've said, DMP is meant to protect you, your domain from being misused by someone else. So how we can do that is to make sure you change your DMARC record by sending all the IUA and IUF report back to the portal. So once we receive the email from the receiver who verified your DMARC results, we will receive a statistic information such as what has been the amount of the messages that is passing the DMARC verification, the amount of a message that is failing the DMARC verification. So a quick glance of how the trends looks like, you can see there's the green bar as well as the red one. So the green one obviously means that on that specific day you have a DMARC, you have an email that passes the DMARC verification, and some are not. Right. So what are we really worrying about is the red one, right? But is it means that your email has been compromised or the domain has been compromised? The answer is yes and no, because it can be someone else that is misusing a domain. That is why you got a red indication, or maybe not, because somehow you are relying on the third parties senders that helping you to send an email on your behalf. For example, the email marketing campaign company, right? It's just that you are not adding it into your SPF or sharing your DKIM record back to them. That is why the results turn into fail, right? So how we can do that, right? Of course, you can click on the red button. You can do that in order to look at which domain is affected. Let me just make it bigger so you can see that. Okay, so once you click on the red one, right, you can quickly see that, oh, these are the domains that are affected, right, which is a lot easy. But what else you can do is you can quickly go into senders, right, to look at what are the third-party senders that has been approved based on the report that we have received back from the receiver. Right, in this case, we can see that Makato, Talio, Axioms, and BlueType has been approved in the first place, which means your DKIM record or your SPF record has already condoned the emails that is sending on your behalf by these providers. So what you really need to worry about is those in the unapproved list, right? So inside the unapproved list means that you're still able to discover other kind of known, well-known senders that is sending the email on your behalf. For example, let me give you one example. This is one of the fabricated domain that is belongs to Cisco, called account.ciscoventurecapital.com. So this domain has been used by GoDaddy to send an email to someone else. Is it something that has been approved by us or not? Probably you need to find it out from the Cisco Venture Capital division, right? So maybe the department's managers has been engaging with the GoDaddy's provider in order to send some marketing email on their behalf, but you're not aware of. So with that, the red indications happen, right? So because you wanted to improve the whole ecosystems, what you can do is you can add the GoDaddy into the approved list, and then improve your DKIM as well as your SPF record. That's the way to do it in order to improve the whole ecosystems and make sure down to time, right, you will get more green and lesser red down the road. So it is a long-term effort. So it is not something that you can turn in a day or in a night. So it is going to be a long-term effort. You have to educate the customer, saying that this is going to be a practice for them to keep on trackings on the record, learning about what is failing the DMARC. Is it something to do with the SPF? Is it something to do with the DKIM? So there is a bit of a research they need to do based on what has been indicated on the DMP. So what else is really cool about this tool is you can not only just able to analyze the whole DMARC results in order to see how the ecosystem looks like, you also can host your SPF record with us, right? With the portal. So what you can do is you simply just go to the tools, right, and change, let's say, DMARC. I can simply say, let me see, Cisco.com, and I do the lookup. I can modify the record in order to change the record back to us. So by doing this, I just have to continue modify the policies that I want to set in the DMARC record. And once I continue, right, it tells me that from now on, you're not only sending the email back to your own email address, now you're also sending to your DMP portal, right? That's how you change the record, by sending the RUF as well as the IUA back to us. Okay, so I hope this is going to give you a better understanding of what DMP can do for you. Right? If there is no question, let's move on to APP. So APP is the second portal. It's the second portal that is doing something otherwise. The DMP is talking about domain protection, more on the outbound traffic, the email that is sent by your domain. I hope you're not confused. Now, APP, it's about the email that your users has received. So what I mean is, now you have go through so many steps of protections on the email security via the Cisco email security or other vendor, right? But what else is actually still received by the Exchange or by the Office 365 or by the G Suite? It still remain questionable sometimes, right? So what else can actually give you a better understanding of whether the emails are still legitimate or not? Will be the APP as the answer. So what you're going to do is you are sending all the emails that is received by the Exchange or by the G Suite or by the O365 and send a copy of the email back to APP. Once APP receives it, it will give you a dashboard like that, which is on the screen right now, to show you in a day how many emails is considered good and considered bad after a scanning of the email gateway. So what else we can see is a couple of bubbles, right? So the green bubble means that those emails are great. the emails are actually coming from a great sender. So you don't have to worry about all the green bubble after the analysis of all the correlation, which I mentioned in the slide. So what you really need to worry is the red dots, right? Because they are still seems to be suspicious, and it's still going to be seems to be anomaly by the APP. So how we can find out more is according to the left panel, which we have demonstrated the couple of email that has been treated as compromised account, as well as individual impersonation, domain spoofing. So quickly, without further ado, you can click on one of them, like for example, brand display imposter, right? So we quickly find out that there are two domains is related to this issue. So how we can find out if you're familiar with the message tracking, it works the similar way. Okay, it works the similar way like a message tracking. So all we have to do is we click on show message, right? So it will show the type of attack related to brand display name imposter. Okay, and go further down. There are the two emails that is matches the type of this type of attack in a day. So all we need to do is to click on that search results and find out the detail, right? So let's do that. Let's click it. So what we see here is the message detail. So it's telling us that this looks suspicious because the friendly from is Wells Fargo's, is one of the bank in America, but it's sending from gmail.com. Okay, so the friendly from doesn't seem to be matching with the domain, with the sender domain. So this is one of the things that is already questionable, already sounds suspicious. So what else is the mail
Alex,
from? Yes.
sorry to interrupt. We are not seeing the screen.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Are you seeing the presentation or what?
no, I am actually not seeing. I think one of the participants also has messaged.
Okay.
Gloria and Jen,
Uh,
are you
can you
seeing the screen?
can you see the web browser?
No, we cannot see the screen.
Oh, okay. That's weird. So I've been talking
You're
to
not
myself.
sharing anything, Alex.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay.
participants have started sending the message saying they're not able to see. So maybe you
Okay.
could unshare and share it again, Alex.
Yes.
Let's
Hold on a
check it
second.
right.
Hold on a second. Let me try. That's weird. Okay. I already shared the content, so hold on. Um, Something wrong with the WebEx because it doesn't allow me to share my screen again. So, okay. So, Vina, can you pass the ball back to me?
I actually can't see your name here. Can you claim the host key, Alex? Okay, let me stop the recording for a minute.
I'm going to start again from the APP side, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So now let's move on to the APP demo. So let me log down and show you the actual interface of the APP. So let me quickly log back in. 20. So just bear with me for 1 second. All right. So this is basically the screen of the APP. So if you still remember what I mentioned about the DMP, DMP is all about the domain protection. It's all on the outbound traffic from your domain, from the customer domain, and they wanted to make sure how the domain sending looks like, the whole ecosystems of the sending looks like. That relies on the DMP. However, APP is doing otherwise. So APP is all about the email that your customer's employee or the users is receiving, right? So on the screen right now, what you're seeing is the email that has been received by the APP. So let's actually move backward a little bit, right? So now you have a Cisco email security gateway or other vendor like other companies that is providing the email security gateway. So the email has been go through a lot of security screening, and now the email has been reaches down to your Exchange, your Office 365, your G Suite. Okay, so those emails that is inside your user mailbox, are they 100% secure? Are you able to trust all of them, or there is some of them still questionable or seem suspicious, which you will never find out because there is no further measurements or the precautions to help you to say that this email is 100% legit, right? With APP, you can do that. Because if you still remember, once again, from the slide that I just mentioned, we uses a three big component, which is the identity mapping, the behavioral analytics, as well as the relational behavioral, right? So that's how we actually find out the local intelligence that is only related to your customer's environment. From there, we can find out what else the emails is actually looks suspicious, right? So these are the email that has been received by Exchange, and Exchange is actually forwarding a same amount of a copy back to APP. So what you're seeing here is the email that has received by Exchange equivalence, okay? Now, the example shows that the email has been received today for more than about 19,000 email, right, messages coming from 290 domains. So there's a lot of bubble out there, right? There's a lot of bubbles in 4 columns. So the bubbles that is in green means that these are the clean email, which is typically widely acceptable because don't forget you already have an email security gateway in front of your Exchange. That's supposed to be making sense to having more green bubble in versus all the red bubble. But still, according to APP, there are some email that seems to be suspicious. So what are they? Right, the APP will quickly give you the answers by where. If you look at the left-hand panel, left side of the panel, there are 8 types of attack that has been categorized by APP and nicely pan out the numbers over there. So let me quickly give you one of example. For example, the brand display name imposter, right? So there are 2 email out of 19,000 emails is still considered as a brand imposter. So what you're going to do is we can click on number 2. All right. So we can see the bubble shows up and saying, okay, so these are the domain that are related to brand imposters, which has been suspiciously detected, by APP. So how we can find out more detail? Very easy. So click on the show message underneath the category. It brings you to the search results really quickly. So you can see that the attack type is brand display name. If you go further down, this is the search results. So how we can find out more? Click on it. So let's click on it. Okay, so this is another example about Amazon. So if you look into the friendly from, the Amazon services is the friendly from. However, the sending email looks different because according to what we have received from the mail from envelope, it is coming from adl.services.com, which is totally not matching the mail from header. The header from domain. So this is actually a big, factors to tell us that this is something wrong with that email, right? What else we can find out is the sending domain don't have a SPF that we can give a pass results. There is no DKIM results, and most important, there is no DMARC. Well, so such a big company like Amazon, but there is no results found on either one of the open users authentication standard. So with that, this already gives us a pretty convincing reasons that this is probably a bad email. But what else we can see is the domain is not available in the SBRS. Even though the domain seems to be having a high domain reputation with other bad factors count into consideration, this email is actually has been verdict with a very low authenticity score. And then it has been labeled as brand display name imposter. Okay? So this is actually one of the ways to understand and explain how APP is doing the verdict as well as doing the correlations with different type of factors and the element that has been read from the email metadata. Okay, so you probably have a question to yourself like, Alex, you just mentioned about the Exchange is sending the email back to the APP in the cloud. Do we have a data privacy issue? Well, that might be something the customer will ask because don't forget, the APP is a cloud service and you are sending an email back to the cloud. So the answer is no. There is no concern about the data privacy because what we receive here is the metadata of the message, which means there is no attachment. The actual attachment is not going to send up. The actual messages is not going to send up. All we see is probably just a copy or the snapshots of what we can get from the header, right? So this is what we're going to do in order to prevent breaching the data privacy concern. Okay. Now, one more thing that I want to show you is the policy. Right. So policy is one more thing that I want to show you because the policy is the way that we can take actions without administrators' intervention. Everything is automated. Let's say, for example, we already have a couple of policies created. For example, the lookalike domain, right? So all we have to do is we can create the policies in a very simple way. Choose the type of attack, and you can simply select in one of the drop down. Okay. So in this example, we have choose the lookalike domain. So what else we can do if we scroll down is what type of action that we like to enforce. Do we want to move to the quarantine? Do we want to delete it? Do we want to do something else? Or we simply just want to acknowledge the administrator? It's up to you. It can be reporting purpose, alert purpose, or really take into action, right? It's all up to you. But don't forget, this is automated. Okay, this is automated. But what if you still recall, what if the message has surpassed the policy because of some criteria is unmatching, and there is a need for you to go in to have a manual intervention on that specific message? Is where the on-demand remediation kick in, right? So all you can do is go to Analyze, search the message, right? Let's say, for example, you can put in a couple of examples right there and do a search, and you quickly pull out the email results right there. All you have to do is to click the Enforce Now. Right now it has been grayed out because there is no active sensors right now. So what you can do is you can click on Enforce Now, pick the email, and say choose the actions of what you want to do on it. So this is more of a manual way in order to take action on specific messages that you wish to do, okay, that you wishes to interfere, right? One more thing is the address group. It's more of a forged email detection, which means you can actually add in the directories of the top profiler or the C-level executive into the list, so that when they detected the email coming from those senders, they can quickly respond and say there might be some kind of BEC attack attempt, right? One thing that I want to highlight is, although we have that in the Cisco email security, but in APP, they already have the Azure AD Sync, which means if you have the directories enabled on the Azure platform, you can quickly have the synchronizations with, from the Azure AD in order to pull out a certain directory out of the Active Directory, okay, out of the database. So that's how you can speed up the whole thing without replicating your effort by adding all the names into the list. Any question which you'd like to bring up in the call? I'll give you 1 minute since I have the screen on in front of us. Nope. Okay, so let's move on. So basically, that's summarized and wraps up the demonstrations of the APP as well as the DMP. Okay, so now cut back into the PowerPoint. Yes. Okay. I just want to mention that we have the dcloud resource for the instant demo of the deep domain protection as well as the advanced phishing protection available in dcloud. So feel free to log into the dcloud. There's no need for you to schedule a sessions to run the portal. All you need is to go into the nearest data center, logged into dcloud.cisco.com, pick the nearest data center, and look for the keywords domain protections or advanced phishing protection. Click on the view. It quickly brings you to the portal without admin logged in, without setting up, nothing. And most important, there are consistent amount of synthetic data imported into both instant demo, so that you can actually run through the stories. You can see how it looks like, how it feels like, right in front of your prospective customers. Okay, without too much of an effort needed in the first place. Right, since we still have a couple of minutes, so let me quickly drive through the most important announcement as well. We recently announced the single SKU that helps you to ease the weight of creating your BOM as well as the sales ordering. So what happened is, before that, we have a couple of SKUs that you need to struggle around. For example, you need to look into the type of a domain, the deployment options, like is it going to be a cloud-based, is it going to be a virtual-based, is it going to be a hybrid-based. What else you need to pick is the AMP and the threat grid. So they're so complicated, as well as it's struggling for you to actually put the right the SKUs into a same pool. But what happened is we try to resolve the issues and make it a lot simple. So what happened is we make it into a single and simple SKU, easy to sell. We're confident to inform the partners that we are heading to the right direction. And most important is you will find out and surprised to find out that the new SKUs is actually more cost effective as opposed to the older model with additional of a 4% discount price on top of it. So the way of look into the SKUs are very simple. You're probably already familiar with. Number one, choose the deployment option. As I mentioned before, is it going to be a cloud base? Is it going to be a on-prem base? Or it's going to be a hybrid base? So once you made up your mind, there is a list of a SKU in relationship with the type of a deployment options to choose, and enter the number of a users count and the durations of a quote, which typically 3 years or 5 years or 1 year. So quickly flip on the next slide because it's very easy to understand. So these are the SKUs, if you're still not aware of, is already available in a global price list. But to make it easy to understand, I've actually put it on the screen as well. So these are the type of a single SKU looks like in a cloud-based deployment option. So again, we have two types of bundles, the inbound as well as the premium. So look for the bundle that you like and the type of a deployment as well as the number of users to find out the right seat spans and picks up the right SKU. Very simple. Okay. So same concepts applies to the on-premise. So it's just that make sure you have picked the right one because the previous one is CESA and this is going to be ESAI. So it's just the difference on that. But the understanding is exactly the same. Hybrid as well. Hybrid, it changed the word to HYBESAI. Again, for both inbounds and premium bundle, you have to pick one. Okay. So a lot of questions about do we also include the ThreatGrid full cloud, or we call it the premium subscription? The answer is no. Okay, we just try to make it easy for you to put in the initial SKU with the inclusions of the AMP and the ThreatGrids that are readily available in the ESA or email security, either cloud-based or virtual-based or on-prem based. But accessing into the ThreatGrid actual portal is not included into this single SKU. So additional SKUs is required if they need to have a full access to the ThreatGrid, and they require to have more samples submitted in per day basis. They need to buy additional sample pack. Just keep in mind. So what is this new bundle really influence at this point, especially when you're encountering your partner, right? Is that if you look into the slide, you can see that we are making it easy, especially if you're encountering Proofpoint and Microsoft. So let's talk about Proofpoint first, right? So Proofpoint, when customers need to have a tab, which we call it as a target attack protection, they need to have a single license. They need to have a separate license, which in order to have a feature parity with our new SKU. Again, tab is going to be cost them another fortune, right? Just to add it into the same bundle. If they wanted to have matches with our mailbox auto remediations, they need to buy the trap. The trap stands for threat response auto pool. Again, with additional costs. So, but for us, all in one, no hassle. The price is the same. Okay, so that makes it a lot easier for you to pitch on, not only from the feature perspective, but from the price perspective. Okay, so now stands into the Microsoft. So you know that the Microsoft, they typically sell on the E3 as well as E5 or E3 plus ATP. So just to let you know that E3 is the entry level of email security protections for the Exchange Online service. So obviously the E3 is not going to be enough. Hence, the additions of ATP for the better security protection. However, if you talk about the return on investment, having the Cisco image security coupled with the Microsoft E3 or the online exchange protection is going to be a lot cheaper down the way. So please feel free to bring it up and talk to them, especially for the customers that are interested to buy AMP with the current solution or the customer is about to renew. So these are a couple of questions that you can bring up and mingle with, especially for the customers that still only have the inbound bundles or the premium bundle without the AMP before, right? So and most important is up for renewal. So you can start asking them for a couple of questions like, is it something that you covered your email that are already sending down to Office 365? Do you alerted about the incrementals of malicious file entering your mailboxes? Is ransomware is one of the biggest concern? What about the automated alert systems that keep you updated? Is something that is important for you, or is that other features that is capable to analyze the malicious content? Right. So these are the questions that you can bring up. But regardless the answers that the customer want to get back to you, just serving one purpose is to sell them the single SKU because that comes with M in the first place. So it's going to be beneficial for them in terms of security protection as well as the cost effectiveness. So just to keep in mind that. So, in summary, a simple call for this section is, let's make this new SKU a default bundle for your Cisco email security deal in the future. Right. I'd like to say thank you to stay on. We still have about 15 minutes. So let me just spend a good 15 minutes to talk about another winning tool that I wanted you to fully utilize, is the Cisco Threat Analyzers for Microsoft Office 365. So as you can see on the slide, it is like $20 billion of a market for Microsoft. The information came out publicly in their October earning call last year. So the opportunity is massive out there. Yeah, okay, it's massive. So O365 is becoming a standard, obviously, because everyone is moving to O365 with a lot of good reasons. It's cheaper, it's more productive, it's easy to handling, not only for the cost saving perspective, but also easy to access to the productivity as well as a collaboration platform. So easy to upgrade, so easy to adjust the subscription, and most important is the the Office 365 comes with a basic called the E3 or the Exchange Online Protection. Right, but what happened is Microsoft, although is providing a powerful productivity platform, but the security is not as strong as ours, especially comes from an email security perspective. So that is why Gartner has estimated that the 50% of Office 365 customers will rely on the third-party security tools by 2021. In other words, the more the customers moving into the cloud, the more they quickly realize that they need to have more better security, simply just relies on Microsoft. So this is a pictorial slide to show you that how easy to place the Cisco email security as additional layer of protection in front of Office 365 email service. So without too much of explanations on that, we have very resourceful information or the link or the collaterals right underneath the page. Click on the link below, you will find out more, and it will give you all the information about how to set up the integrations in a very easy way. Okay, so now we talk about the benefit of the Cisco email security, how we can able to contribute a better protections for the Office 365 customers. But as a partner, right, as the resellers or the partners or the vendors, how you can prove that is always the biggest problem, because the moment the customers talk about Office 365, you wanted to put in another layer of protections in front of them. The Amex record requires changes. And you pretty much tell them to stop the conversation, because there is no one like to risk the chances of breaking the production line by changing the Amex record. Well, Cisco has actually produced an easy way to help you out. That's called the threat analyzers. We want to give the prospective customers who are looking to understand the threat protection and the data protection labs that they may have in the O365 today, that what else is still missing in the security coverage, especially simply rely on O365 is simply just not enough. So when the scan is completed, the customer will get a one-pages and say, well, this is the threat summary that they have found, and this will be the threat that, even though has been let go by O365, and Cisco email security still managed to get hold of them, right? It is a very easy way to show that why Office 365 need a second layer of protection, especially from Cisco email security. Okay. Now, I can't stress enough that the Cisco email security is very easy. It's a fast way to demonstrate, how we able to get hold of a threat that O365 has misses. The tools is a simple API-based application that does not interfere the customer production environment. So which means that you can actually implement the threat analyzers anytime, anywhere, without worrying about the production line. So the tools is easy to set up in the dCloud. But if you wanted to set up in the on-prem, let us know. We do have a resource locator for you, just to take care of that concern. Now, with the Cisco Threat Analyzer, we can scan the email right into the customer's end users' mailboxes that already been scanned by O365. In summary, the mail is already sitting in the user mailboxes, so there is no need to worry that the mail is a real-time basis, because the email has already been sitting into the user's mailboxes. It will show you that there is a number of spam, the malware, the bad URL, the gray mail that that the threat analyzers can found, which sadly speaking already exist or sitting or fed into the end users mailboxes, which is kind of worrying, right? So the customer decided how many mailboxes they wanted to scan. So it's very flexible. They can choose how many mailboxes they want to scan. Is that 80 that they can actually leverage from? If yes, they can choose a specific elder group that they already set up and define it straight in the threat analyzer scanning page. So a few screenshots on how the threat analyzer looks like. So when the scan is completed, so from the dashboard, you have to click on the report button and putting your email address in order to send a PDF copy back to yourself as well as your customers. And most important, once you have the reporting, start discussing the finding and tell them the next action, as simple as it is. Once again, the threat analyzer is already available in dCloud. So all you have to do is to go in, book a time, and feel free to knock yourself out because it's so easy. There is a lot of information that has been given into this related topic. So all you have to do is to view the videos or look into the collaterals or the guidance to teach you step by step on how to setting up the Cisco Threat Analyzer. Okay, and one good news is that although the version 1 has been released for quite a while, we already have the version 2 almost ready, and once we have all the approval made, we will release it in the dCloud as well. So let me quickly do a demonstration of a threat analyzers. I just wanted to say that today the dCloud Lab is pretty stressed because of the Cisco Live event in Barcelona. So I'm going to use the 2.0, which is yet to be fully approved, but it's going to show you at least give you a better understanding of how the threat analyzer looks like. So this is what you're gonna get if you go to dCloud. Everyone, can you see the browser? Can you confirm? Make sure you can see the browser. Okay, cool. I can see someone responded. Cool. So I believe you're already familiar with the dCloud, right? So just log in, and once again, it's just the nearest data center for me, Singapore, because I'm based out of Australia. So let me just pick Singapore. Hopefully not lock me out. Okay, all you have to do is find the content. So the keyword is threat analyzer. So just type in threat analyzer. Hit it. Here we go. So you can see that the first one shows the threat analyzers in the search results. Now, just follow my steps, okay? All you have to do is before you start scheduling that, you can just go in and click it and book a session yourself, which I strongly recommend because why? The resource is very limited, so we only have 5 data centers. So please quickly go and schedule it if you do have opportunity to run the scan. So let's do that. So click on the single sessions. As I said just now, it's very intense because Cisco Live, so I cannot book one except tomorrow. So I'm not going to do that. Let me just go back to the previous search results. The next thing that I want to show is the related documents, right? Click on that. Tons of information, right? So you have first one, the guide, the full guide of giving you the step-by-step instruction. Click on the PDF, read through it before you run the scan. It's very helpful. There are a lot of a simplified step that you can just go in and refer to. If you're still not convinced by the document, use the video, use the VOD, right? So the VOD will again walk you through using the video way to present the steps from end to end. The last thing that you're probably interested about is the reporting, because don't forget we will send out a one-pager, right? A one-pager of a summary report. So you probably need to know the anatomies of the reporting. It dissects the way that this is the numbers for that type of a threat, and this numbers is giving to another type of a threat. So it gives you a full explanations of what those numbers belongs to. So these are all the documents that we are ready for you the moment you schedule one threat analyzer session for yourself and run through the scanning. As a promise, because of the tense resources, we cannot use the 1.1, but we still have the 2.0 that is under testing, which are sitting in my lab. I can use that to demonstrate. The look can be a bit different, but in the future, we will definitely going to use that instead of the version 1. So might as well I just show you the version 2, okay? So this is how the version 2 looks like, more or less the same as the version 1. So we just need to log in. Okay, the concept behind is very simple, right? Although we logged into something that is completely strange to you, you looked at like this is the scanning a page that is not familiar with, but is actually just one of the plugin of the email security appliance, which means the moment you accept the emails from the API connection, we are actually putting it back to the email security appliance that are normally run by you or managed by you. So there is no difference when it comes to the back end. This is probably just the front end of receiving the email from the Azure platform. Okay, so just don't get freak out by the interface that you never seen before. Now, so what is the step you can do? First of all, get the admin access, right, from the customers that you are able to secure as opportunity. For example, a customer say, all right, I'm running on O365, prove me wrong, right? So what you can do is you will access to portal.azure.com. So this is the address, and tell them to log in as administrator password. Okay, so once you logged in, let me just make it bigger. Okay, so once you logged in, you can see a list of options right here. So the first thing you have to choose is Azure Active Directory. Quickly, we go to APP registration. I already created one of the APIs, so I'm not going to repeat myself. So let me just pick the one that I just created. So all I did is I created the name, and that gives me a dedicated ID, which we call it as an application ID or profile ID. Okay, so this ID is now is actually unique for every single profile. So I already have one based on what I've just created earlier ago. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight. For example, the permission. So when it goes to permission, all you need is just the read only. Okay, the read only action. So click there and pick the one that we have guided you in the document. So choose the read only in the mailboxes, the mail, as well as the group, because sometimes we need to rely on the AD as well to pull the users out, specific mailbox out. So these are the permissions that we like to have. So once we have that, we need to put on the encryption. So what we can do is we will add the encryption key into the manifest. So in the manifest, as you can see, I've added a list of key that is activate until 2070. So that means that the key is valid for 10 years, right? So this is the fingerprint of the key, which I'm going to need it later on. So now I have all the information needed. As you can see, it's very, very simple. Create a profile, enable permissions, and put in the key. That's all you need to do on the Azure portal. And what now you need to do is to copy all the information back into the threat analyzer. So the first thing I'm going to do is to copy the profile, right? Because this is something that I just created. So I copy the ID. I go back here. I put into client. And the second thing is I need to look into the Azure platform that I created, right? So once again, every customer will have a single tenant ID, right? So I go to Active Directory, and there is something called Properties. So you will pick the directory ID. So copy that. It is single for every single customer. So I just have to go back here and put it right there. Okay. Now, what else I need is the fingerprint, because I want to make sure the keys are matched and they recognize me as the one that wanted to access the profile, right? So I go back to the APP once again and choose the app that I just created. Okay, manifest the base 64 key. So I copy that too. So make sure they are the same. And last but not least, the private key. So I just go and copy the private key, which we already provided in the declare environment, so you don't worry about where to look for the key. So now I just put in the company, let's say customer A. Okay? Because you wanted to give them a report later on, don't forget that. So all you have to do is to click on the validate and make sure everything is successful. If everything's successful, there is no error message, which means you're good to go. So when you come down, you can start to choose the mailboxes or the or specific email address that you like to scan, or specific outlet group that you wanted to do as well, which is very simple. So let's say I want to scan all the mailboxes. I just have to choose this, which I'm not recommended, because I always warn all the users that this is not a full-blown scanner. So don't treat it as an email security because of the restrictions of Azure platform in terms of how they allow the connections via the API. So if you scan all of the mailboxes, rest assured that you will get a result in, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 days, which you don't want to, you don't want to wait for that, right? So try to get a couple of potential mailboxes. For example, the high profiler, like a C-level executive, these are the guys that you definitely wanted to scan because they are so critical for the business. Probably those email address that is facing the external, like the sales or the marketing team, right? So these are the guys that is having the email that is received from the outside instead of internal, right? So these are the addresses that I definitely wanted to pick, and try to restrict that less than 100 of the mailboxes, because that's probably the max, and you like to finish the job within like, what, 5 days? So 5 days will be kind of acceptable, right, in most cases. Now, so without further ado, you can also select that whether you want to scan the internal email, which means if the email is having the senders and the receivers matching the same domain, you can bypass it or not. Or you wanted to scan it, it's up to you, right? You can pick that up as well. Once you're happy with that, start the scanning and leave it alone. So you can just walk away. I probably have to come back in 2 days' time or 3 days' time, so I just to check out the results. Don't forget, there is no alerts to tells you when the scan is completed. So always come back and check and find out how the scanning looks like. Usually, it should be completed in 5 days if you follow my advice. Otherwise, it's probably going to take more than that. But one thing for sure, even though the scanning is not completed, doesn't matter, you still can print the report, okay? So you don't have to wait for 100%. You still can scan the report and show the customers, because probably you already have a good results that tells you that how many spams or how many gray mail or phishing attack that already been received by the scanner, which is good enough to showcase the value of having the Cisco email security in front of the O365. Okay, so if there is no question, I'm going to fall back to the presentation to wrap up the webinar. Okay, so we kindly come to the last page. So as I mentioned earlier, we have heaps of resources to help you in order to better driving your potential deals into a lot quicker and easier way. So feel free to click on one of those links because it gives you a lot of information, such as the domain protections, the advanced phishing protections, all the documentations, all the collaterals. Most important, if you still remember the step-by-step instructions on how to set up a threat analyzers, which I just did just now, you can see it's amazing tools. It's very easy to set up and really, really able to secure the business right away if you have the opportunity related to Office 365. Okay? So it's very resourceful, and I strongly encourage you to pay a visit if you can. All right? So the call to actions for today is number 1, okay? Talk about the coolest things and the newest Cisco email security services that we just presented, the APP and the DP, because this is a great traction and excitement about the services, and highlight you. I highly recommend you to get out there and start talking about this to your customers. The second call is identify the Office 365 customers, so you can do the threat analyzer scanning and basically position the tool as the one that can help you to prove and showcase the better strengths of Cisco email security as opposed to all the competitors, including Microsoft per se, right, itself, and which is just not enough for today's threat landscape, right? And of course, never forget to start using the single SKU that I just emphasized for all the renewal, for all the new orders that is not yet included with the AMP in the past. So it is cheaper, easier to manage for both the customers as well as you yourself in the long term. So it's definitely a win-win situation. Okay. So with that, I hope you found this webinar useful. Thanks for joining, and feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Is there any question?
Alex, questions are being answered in Q&A panel. So Gloria's answered most of them. I don't
Awesome.
see anything more. You can
Okay.
just check the Q&A panel once.
Cool. Okay. So if that's the case, probably we can just end the session.
Yeah, this last question which is getting answered. So we'll just give them
Okay.
a couple of
Sure.
minutes. So if
Sure.
there are any more questions, they can post it.
Sure.
One more question there. Okay, I think we are done with all the questions. Thank you, Alex and Gloria, for answering and taking us through the entire session. Thank you for all the attendees who attended today's session. Please take up the survey at the end of the session once you close the window. That's all from us today. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.